If you ever see fingers rising from beneath the water, do not touch them. Do not pull them. Do not even acknowledge them. If you do, they will remember you. I should have listened. It happened nearly 15 years ago, yet I still see them in my dreams. I still wake up gasping for breath, my throat raw with a phantom sensation of water filling my lungs. I tell myself it wasn't real, just some sick trick of memory, warped over time. But then I hear the splashes in my bathtub at night. I see what handprints on my bathroom mirror. And I know some things don't stay buried. And some things are never meant to be pulled back to the surface. I was 12 years old the summer it happened. My parents had dragged me to my uncle's lake house, a place tucked deep in the woods, far from anything resembling civilization. The air always smelled damp, thick with pine and rotting leaves, and the house itself sat on the edge of a massive, eerily still lake. I hated it. There was no TV, no internet, just miles of trees and that damn lake, black and silent, stretching out like a wound in the earth. My father told me it was a good thing, that I needed fresh air, that I needed to learn how to enjoy the simple things. But even at 12, I knew something wasn't right about that place. The locals had stories. They always do in places like that. Some people swore the lake was bottomless. Others whispered that it was cursed, that strange things happened when the water was too still. But the one thing everyone agreed on was this. People drown there. A lot of people. Some are accidents. A few careless swimmers. An overturned boat. An unlucky fisherman. But some were different. There were stories of people who went missing without a trace. No bodies. No wreckage. Just gone. And then there were the fingers. The first time I heard about them, I laughed. I thought it was just one of those dumb stories adults tell kids to keep them from wandering too far. But the look on my uncle's face told me otherwise. If you ever see fingers beneath the water, he had said, his voice low, you turn around. You walk away. You pretend you didn't see a damn thing. I had scoffed. What, like dead people reaching up from the bottom? My uncle didn't answer right away. He just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then, almost too quietly, he muttered, "They're not dead." I didn't ask him what he meant. I didn't want to, but I should have, because a week later I saw them. It was early morning when I wandered down to the lake alone. My parents were still asleep, and I liked the way the mist curled over the water, hiding where the surface ended. It looked unreal, like something from a dream. I knelt at the dock's edge, watching the way the still water swallowed my reflection. It was like looking into a mirror smeared with ink. Dark, bottomless. And then I saw it. A ripple, faint at first, barely more than a shiver in the water. But then another, and another. And then, slowly, something broke the surface. A hand. No fingers. They were pale, impossibly pale, stretching just above the waterline, as if someone were reaching for me from below. I froze. The fingers twitched, curling slightly. They were long, almost too long, the skin wrinkled like it had been submerged for far too long. I could see the tips of the nails, ragged, chipped. My heart pounded. It was a prank. It had to be. Someone was messing with me. But then I noticed something that made my stomach twist into knots. There was no wrist, no hand, just fingers, reaching, waiting. I should have run. I should have turned away, just like my uncle had warned. But I didn't. I reached out, and the moment my fingers brushed against theirs, the water exploded. Something yanked me forward hard. My head smacked against the dock as I was pulled down, and suddenly I was underwater. Cold. Silent. Something wrapped around my wrist. Not fingers, more than fingers. Hands, arms, skin that was too soft, too slick. I thrashed, kicking wildly, my lungs burning. Shapes moved in the dark below, twisting and writhing. And then I saw them. Faces. So many faces. Their eyes were wide, empty, their mouths open as if screaming, but no sound escaped. Their skin swayed like it wasn't solid, dissolving into the water around them. And then, as I struggled, one of them opened its eyes, and it saw me. I don't remember what happened next. I remember a snap, like something breaking. I remember a pull, a force so strong I thought my arm would tear from its socket. And then I was on the dock, soaking wet, gasping, alone. I scrambled away from the edge, coughing up water, my whole body trembling. The lake was still, calm, as if nothing had happened. But my wrist was covered in dark, bruised fingerprints. I didn't go near the water again that summer. I didn't tell my parents. I barely spoke. And for a long time, I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination. But then the drowning started, one after another, people disappearing. And the worst part, every time someone vanished, I saw them in the water, and they saw me, smiling. I never told my parents what happened that day. After I dragged myself out of the lake, I ran home, dripping wet and shaking so hard my teeth clattered. My mother took one look at me and gasped, rushing to grab towels while my father's face twisted into something between anger and concern. "What the hell were you doing in the lake?" he barked. I opened my mouth, then shut it. What was I supposed to say? That something had pulled me in? That something had wrapped around my ankle, gripped my wrist, and touched me? That I had seen fingers pressing up from beneath the surface, reaching, clawing? If I told them, they'd think I was making up stories. So I lied. I slipped, I stammered. My father sighed, shaking his head. My mother wrapped the towel around me and held my hands, frowning at the bruises already forming around my wrist. "Are you hurt anywhere else?" she asked, eyes darting across my skin. I shook my head. She studied me for a long time, then cupped my face and forced me to look at her. "Don't go near that lake again," she said softly, her voice unusually serious. "Promise me." I swallowed the lump in my throat and nodded. That night, I dreamed of the water. The feeling of something cold curling around my wrist, something boneless yet strong. The faces beneath the surface, staring with empty sockets, mouth stretched open as if screaming. In the dream, I was back at the dock. But this time, I didn't escape. The hands pulled me under. I woke up gasping, my sheets damp with sweat. My fingers instinctively clutched at my wrist, feeling the bruises, tracing their shape. It wasn't just one set of fingers. It was several. They had gripped me from all angles, pulling. The dream was so vivid that for a moment I thought I could still feel the weight of their hands pressing against my skin. And then, in the silence of my bedroom, I heard it. A slow, wet drip. At first, I thought it was from my window, maybe condensation, maybe rain. But when I turned my head, my breath caught in my throat. Water. A thin puddle of water on my floor, leading from my bed to my closet. I sat up slowly, my heart thudding against my ribs. My fingers dug into the blanket. The closet door was slightly open. I stared at it, my entire body frozen. And then, from inside the darkness, something shifted. A faint, slick movement, like something wet and heavy was dragging itself deeper into the shadows. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just watched, waited, and then the puddle of water, the thin trail leading from my bed, it started receding. I watched, wide-eyed, as the dampness in the carpet slowly shrank, as if the water was being sucked back into the closet, as if it had never been there at all. I spent the rest of the night curled up under my blanket, shaking, my ears straining for any sound, any movement. But nothing else happened. When morning came, I convinced myself it had been a dream, a hallucination, a lingering effect of my near drowning. But I never opened my closet door again. And for years, I stayed far away from the lake. The drowning started 2 years later. The first was a boy named Eric Lawson. He was 13. They said he went out onto the dock alone one night and never came back. His parents called the police when they found his shoes near the edge of the water, his footprints leading to the dock, but not away. They searched the lake for days, but they never found his body. I remember standing at the edge of the water, staring at the rippling surface, feeling a sickening weight in my stomach. The last time I was here, I had seen them. The fingers beneath the water. The lake had taken him. I knew it. And deep down, I felt something worse. They had tried to take me first. I told myself I was being paranoid. That drownings happen all the time. But then it happened again. A girl this time. Sarah Dumley. She was 16. She had been sitting on the dock with her boyfriend, legs dangling in the water. He looked away for 1 second, just long enough to check his phone, and when he turned back, she was gone. Vanished. Not a single sound. Not a splash. Just gone. I heard the police talking. They said it was impossible. That even if she had fallen in, there would have been something, a struggle, a scream, ripples in the water. But there was nothing. The lake took her, too. The nightmares came back. The feeling of hands gripping me, pulling me under, water rushing into my lungs. But something was different this time. In my dreams, I saw their faces, and I recognized them. Eric, Sarah, they were beneath the water now. Their pale, bloated faces stared up at me from the depths. Their mouths hung open, empty sockets where their eyes used to be. And their fingers reached for me. When I woke up, my sheets were wet. Not with sweat, with water. The bruises on my wrist came back, darker than before, like something had been holding me. And then, the worst part, the part I've never told anyone, the part that made me realize I was never going to escape this. The day after Sarah disappeared, I went back to the lake. I don't know why. Some part of me needed to see it, needed to know. The water was calm. Still, I stood at the dock, staring down at my reflection. And then, something else moved beneath the surface. I watched in horror as a hand rose up, pale, swollen, and I knew, somehow, that it was Sarah's hand. She was trying to get out. Her fingers barely brushed the surface before something yanked her back down. She didn't float. She didn't rise. She sank, as if something was pulling her deeper. My breath hitched. My knees locked. And then I saw her eyes. She was looking directly at me. Not at the dock. Not at the lake. At me. Like she knew I could see her. Like she was pleading for help. And for one horrible second, I understood. I understood why the lake had let me go that day. Why I'd gotten away. Why it had taken them instead. Because I touched them. And they never forget who touched them. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, Sarah and Eric, their bloated faces staring up at me from beneath the surface. Their lips moved, whispering something I couldn't hear. But I knew what they wanted. They wanted me to come back, to join them. The nightmares got worse. I'd wake up gasping, my bed sheets damp, not with sweat, but with lake water. The scent of it filled my room, thick and stagnant, like rotting leaves and algae. My clothes would be soaked, my skin clammy, and the bruises on my wrist. They were darker now, fresher, like something had grabbed me in my sleep. I didn't tell anyone. Who the hell would believe me? The police were still dragging the lake for Sarah's body, though I knew they wouldn't find it. Just like they never found Eric. The lake didn't give them back. And somehow, I knew it was only a matter of time before it took someone else. It happened 3 weeks later. His name was Matt Davidson. He was 15, a year older than me. He was with a group of friends, drinking by the water, trying to act tough. They dared him to jump in. He did. He never came back up. I saw the news report the next day. The same story. Another tragic accident. Another vanishing. No body. No evidence. No explanation. The police started blocking off the dock after that, but it didn't matter. People still went near the water, and the lake was still hungry. I knew I should have left town. Should have gotten as far away from that lake as possible. But I didn't, because it wouldn't let me. It started following me, not just in my dreams. Everywhere. It began with little things. Puddles of water appearing in my room, even though I hadn't spilled anything. My shoes always damp in the morning, even if I hadn't gone outside. The sound of dripping water, even when my faucets were off. Then it got worse. I started seeing them, not just in my dreams, but in reflections. I'd glance at a puddle on the sidewalk and see fingers rising from the water, reaching. I'd pass a store window and see a pale, wet figure standing behind me, just for a split second before it disappeared. And then the voices started, soft at first, barely a whisper. Come back, come back. I ignored them, but they didn't stop. They got louder, more urgent. Come back. You should have drowned. One night, I woke up to the feeling of something cold and wet pressing against my ankle. I shot up in bed, heart hammering, and I saw it. A hand curling around my foot. Pale, bloated, fingers digging into my skin. I screamed and kicked wildly, scrambling backward until I fell out of bed. My lamp crashed to the floor, plunging the room into darkness. I scrambled for the light switch, my breath coming in ragged gasps. When the bulb flickered on, the hand was gone, but my sheets were wet, and my ankle, there were bruises in the shape of fingers. They weren't just in the lake anymore. They were coming for me. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it, that I was paranoid, sleep deprived, but deep down I knew the truth. The lake had marked me, and it wasn't done with me yet. The final straw came 2 nights later. I was walking home late from a friend's house, cutting through the park near the lake. I knew it was a mistake the second I stepped onto the path. The air was thick, heavy. The silence was unnatural. No crickets, no rustling leaves. Just a deep, pressing stillness. And then I heard it, a soft, wet squelch, like footsteps, behind me. I turned around slowly. Nothing. The path was empty, but the air was wrong. I could feel something there, watching me. I walked faster. My pulse pounded in my ears. My house was only a few blocks away. If I could just splish. I froze. The sound came from just off the path, from the grass, from the puddle. I turned my head, my breath caught in my throat. The puddle wasn't deep. It was barely an inch of water, but something was moving inside it. I saw them. Fingers, pressing against the surface like it was glass. A face pushing upward, distorting in the ripples. A mouth opening in a silent scream. Sarah! Her eyes locked onto mine, and then a hand shot out of the puddle, lunging for my ankle. I staggered back with a strangled yell, tripping over myself, scrambling away. My hand scraped against the pavement as I pushed myself up and ran. I didn't look back. I could hear them behind me, the wet, dragging slaps of bare feet on pavement. The whispering voices growing louder, echoing in my head. You should have drowned. You should have drowned. By the time I reached my house, I was sobbing. I locked my bedroom door, locked the closet, pulled the covers over my head like a terrified child. But I could still hear the dripping, still hear the whispers, and I knew they weren't going to stop. Not until they dragged me under. I didn't leave my room the next day. Didn't go to school. Didn't eat. Didn't do anything except sit on my bed, knees to my chest, and stare at the door. Because I knew if I stepped outside, if I got too close to any water, even a goddamn puddle, they'd take me. The bruises on my ankle were darker now. Deep purple outlines of fingers that hadn't even belonged to someone alive. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah's face beneath the water. Bloated, twisting, mouth open, her voice slithering into my ears. You should have drowned. I should have told my parents. Should have told someone. But what would I even say? That a dead girl was haunting me? That I was seeing hands in puddles and hearing whispers in the dark? They'd think I was insane. Hell, I was starting to think it myself. And then my phone rang. I jumped so hard I nearly fell off the bed. My fingers fumbled for the device, my heart pounding as I checked the screen. Unknown number. I hesitated, and then, slowly, I swiped to answer. I didn't even get a chance to speak. A wet, gurgling breath rasped through the speaker. I yanked the phone away from my ear, my stomach twisting. Who is this? My voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. No answer, just more breathing. And then a voice. Low, slurred, like someone speaking through water. Come back. I threw the phone. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, screen flickering. The breathing kept going. The voice still rasped through the speaker, even though I wasn't holding it anymore. Come back. I scrambled off the bed, backing into the corner, my hands clamped over my ears. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. But the phone wouldn't stop. Come back. I grabbed it and shut it off, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. Silence. For a long moment, I just stood there breathing hard. And then drip. A single drop of water splattered onto my phone screen. I looked up and froze. The ceiling above me was soaked. A dark, wet stain spread across it, water dripping from the center, soaking into the carpet. The scent of algae and rotting leaves filled the air. Like lake water, something inside the stain moved. A handprint pressed against the ceiling. Then another, and then they started crawling out. I ran. I didn't stop until I was outside, sprinting down the street barefoot, not caring who saw me. My breath came in sharp gasps, my lungs burning. I didn't know where I was going. Just away. Away from them. I ended up at the lake. Of course I did. It was like I had no choice. Like the water was pulling me back. The dock was empty. Yellow police tape fluttered in the wind, cordoning off the area. It had been weeks since Matt Davidson had vanished, and the police had given up the search, just like they had with Eric, just like they had with Sarah. The lake had swallowed them all, and now it wanted me. I stepped forward, my body moving without me. My bare feet left wet imprints on the wood, even though I hadn't touched water. I stopped at the edge. The water was still, silent, and then ripples. I barely had time to react before something grabbed my ankle. I screamed, stumbling forward, barely catching myself before I hit the water. The fingers tightened, yanking me down. I kicked wildly, twisting, desperate to see. And when I looked, I saw her. Sarah! Her face broke the surface, her lips barely moving, eyes wide and empty. Her nails dug into my skin, her grip like ice. I choked on a sob, trying to wrench free. Let go. Her lips parted, and I heard her voice. Not in my ears. Inside my head. You should have drowned. The water lurched. Many things rose from beneath. Hands, arms, fingers, reaching for me. Eric was there. So was Matt. And others. So many others. Their pale, dead faces peered up at me from beneath the lake's surface, mouths moving soundlessly, water gushing from their lips. They were pulling me under. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. The world spun, black water, pale hands, empty eyes, and then a voice. Not theirs. A real voice. Shouted my name. Something grabbed my arm. Hard. Yanking me backward. And then I was on the dock. Coughing. Choking. My vision blurred, my head spinning. Someone was above me. Shouting. Shaking me. But all I could see was the lake. And the faces beneath it. Staring. Waiting. Because they knew. I might have escaped. But they weren't done with me yet. The lake didn't let me go. Not really. I was back on the dock, gasping for breath, my body trembling, but I could feel them still. Their hands, their eyes, the weight of the water pulling at me, like invisible tendrils wrapped around my ribs. Someone was talking, yelling my name. I turned my head, vision swimming, and saw him, Mark. My older brother. His face was pale, eyes wide, his grip so tight on my arm I could feel his fingers pressing into my bones. What the fuck, man? His voice was raw, panicked. What the hell were you doing? I tried to answer. Tried to tell him I hadn't meant to go back. That something had pulled me here. That I hadn't been in control. But my throat locked up because I wasn't sure that was even true. The lake called me, and I had listened. Mark dragged me to my feet. His hands were still shaking. You're ice cold, he muttered. We're going home. Now. I didn't argue, because something deep inside me, something I couldn't even name, was telling me that if I stayed here any longer, I wouldn't leave. Not alive, anyway. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. Sarah, her bloated face breaking the surface. Eric's pale hands reaching for me. Matt's twisted, empty expression beneath the water. And others. People I didn't even recognize. Their faces floated in my mind, half submerged, mouths moving silently, whispering. And worst of all, I could still feel the lake inside me. My skin felt damp. My lungs felt heavy, like they were filled with water. I sat in my bed, staring at the ceiling, breathing shallowly. And then a drip. My body went rigid. Another drip. I turned my head. The floor beneath my bed was wet. Dark stains spread across the carpet, little puddles forming, as if something had crawled up from the water and made its way inside. I didn't move, didn't even breathe, because I could hear it now. The sound of wet, bare feet slapping against the hardwood floor, moving toward my door, and then a whisper, right outside, come back. The doorknob twisted. I lunged for it, slamming my hand against the wood, holding it shut. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. The door rattled, and then the sound of dripping water, fading, like it was walking away. I stood there for a long time, my whole body locked in place. And then, slowly, I opened the door. The hallway was empty, but the floor was wet, leading toward the bathroom. I followed the trail, my feet making soft, squelching sounds as I stepped through the puddles. The bathroom door was slightly open. A single drop of water slid down the doorframe. I pushed it open. Stopped. The bathtub was full. Dark black water lapping at the rim, steam rising from the surface. The drain was open. It should have been empty, but it wasn't. Something shifted beneath the surface. And then a hand broke through, grabbing the edge, pulling up, and she rose. Sarah! Water streamed from her tangled hair, her skin pale and bloated, eyes empty pits of blackness. Her lips moved, her voice curling through the air like a drowning breath. You should have drowned. And then she lunged. I stumbled backward, slamming against the sink, my vision blurring as the room twisted. Water, wet hands, the scent of rot. I ran. Didn't think. Didn't stop. Just ran. Straight out the front door. Barefoot. Shirt soaked in sweat. Straight back to the lake. Where it had all started. The dock was empty. The lake was silent. But I knew they were there. Waiting. Watching. I walked forward slowly, my breath sharp and shallow. I wasn't in control anymore. I was meant to be here. I stepped onto the dock. The water rippled. Hands broke the surface. Sarah, Eric, Matt, others. A dozen hands reaching. A dozen voices whispering. Come back. And I did. Because the lake had never let me go. I just hadn't realized it yet. The official story was that I went missing that night. My brother tried to tell them I was acting weird, that I'd been drawn to the water. But no one believed him. No one ever does. They never found my body. But I know where it is. It's at the bottom of the lake. And if you ever go near the water, if you ever see something move beneath the surface, if you ever hear whispers curling through the ripples, you'll know I'm still there. Waiting. Because the lake never lets you go.